those bother me tremendously. And I guess the biggest reason that they do is that Satan has made his plans obviously known, that Christ knows. He's coming after Peter. He's coming after him. He said his desire is to have you so that he can sift you. Now, to me, that's scary. Peter's in the inner circle. James, John, and Peter, he's one of the main men Jesus Christ had. And who's coming after him? Satan himself. Now, that sifting thing, a lot of us in here are old enough to understand what a sifter is. But it's the thing you put in and you grind. But the thing is, what a sifter's job is to do is to put pressure and grind. It's to change what goes in so that when it comes out, it's different. It separates the seed inside. And if you look at that in a spiritual situation, you see Peter, a man of God, with Christ, and Satan wants to change him. He wants to remove the seed from him. And you go back to the parable of the sower in Matthew 13. And it talks about Satan being able to pluck the seed. That's a dangerous situation right here. Now watch this. Jesus said Satan hath a desire to have you. So here Jesus Christ knows that Satan's after Peter. Now what Peter doesn't know, that this sifting is just a few hours away. He don't know that. See, prior verses, if you go back a few verses, you're going to find Peter and them sitting around seeing who's going to be the greatest in the kingdom. And there was strife amongst the apostles of who's going to be the greatest. And all of a sudden, Satan picked up on it. Said, well, we'll just see. So he's coming after Peter, Christ knows it. Now watch this. Jesus Christ says, but I have prayed for you. But he didn't pray that Satan didn't do it. What did he pray? That your faith would get you through it. Could not have Christ prayed to heaven and said, Father, Satan can only do what God allows him, right? According to the book of Job. Yeah. So God's going to allow this to happen. And here's Peter thinking that he's somebody that he's not, arguing with the other apostles, who's going to be the greatest, and Satan's coming after him, and Christ, all he's going to do is pray. Pray that his faith remains strong through this. He didn't stop him. He allowed him to go through it. Then you look at it, and he said, the bottom line of it is, it all hinges on Peter's faith, how he's going to hold up through this. Now, I believe a lot of it had to do with Christ's praying, but also it still hinged on Peter. It wasn't that he could just go into this sift without any faith and God's going to take care of it. He's going to come out the other end okay. But there was a reason for it. Jesus told him, he said that when you're converted, when this thing's all said and done, that you do what? Strengthen your brethren. So Christ is sacrificing, in a sense, Peter to go through this sift for somebody else's sake, for everybody else's sake. I tell you what, that's pretty tough right there. That Christ is going to allow this to happen to one of his main men. What's Peter's response to this? Read the next verses. And he said to him, Lord, I am ready to go with thee, both into prison and into death. He sounds pretty smug there, don't he? Pretty secure. Strong in my faith. I can handle this. But yet if you follow the next few verses, they go into the garden. And what's Peter doing when Jesus Christ asked him to pray? He said, pray you enter not into temptation. Where you find Peter? Sleeping. Sleeping. Now, I'll give Peter credit. Whenever they showed up to arrest him, he attacked. Amen. I'll give him that. His flesh was ready, but his spirit was weak. Because you find Peter right after that, after they arrested Jesus Christ, when they took him in there, it says Peter followed, but what? Afar off. He's being sifted. He don't know it. He still thinks, I'm the strong guy. But Satan's trying to change him. And next thing you know, he's at the enemy's campfire. So here's a guy that just a few hours before this was standing strong in the Lord, standing strong with his other apostles, and now all of a sudden he's hanging out with the crowd that's killing his Savior. And before this night's over with, he's going to deny him. So here's Satan attacking Peter. He's sifting through these things. Peter says, I'm not denying you. Jesus told him tonight, before the cock crowed, it's going to happen. You will. Peter really thought in his imaginations that this could never happen. But he was shocked when he found out what was really inside of him. When he got to that point, if you look at verse 62, and Peter went out and did what? Wept bitterly. Within a few hours of him saying that, and Jesus Christ telling him, I'm praying for you, things come out of Peter that shocked him. That he never, in his wildest imaginations, thought that he could ever do that or say that. Yet there he is. That's what sifting will do. It'll bring out some things in us that, given the right circumstances, you'd be amazed what you're capable of doing. That's your flesh. And I look in these last days, and I think, that sifting's not over yet. Right now, I believe, not just a person. I mean, consider this. I thought about this. Where he said, Simon, Simon, Satan hath desired you. What if he put your name in there? Wouldn't that be tough, wouldn't it? I mean, it's nice to know Jesus Christ is praying for us, and he is. He's always making intercessory prayers for us, is he not? Yeah. But he's still going to allow some things to take place. And as crazy as this sounds, it's to help us. That actually helped Peter. In the long run, it helped him. It strengthened him. It showed him, it humbled him. It brought him down from where he thought he was. Because Jesus Christ talked about, hey, who's the higher up? The one that sits at the table or the one that serves him? And he said, the one that sits at the table. He said, yeah, but I've come to serve. I'm not here to sit at the table. I'm here to serve others. He's trying to teach them something. And I think in these last days, there's some things that our intercessory prayers need to be strong about right now. And one of the things in the last days, when you look in 2 Timothy 3, it talks about children. We need to be praying for our kids. Because Satan wants our kids. He doesn't want just to have them to sift them. He wants to take them to hell. He wants to destroy the next generation. And he wants to do it in such a fashion most people won't even see it happening. See what's happening in the schools today? They're indoctrinating. They're not teaching kids anymore. They're not teaching. Math now is racist. 2 and 2 is all on how you look at it. They've eliminated truth out of school. And now they're trying to teach everybody that color matters. Well, color does matter because we're all got red blood in us, so we're all the same. Amen? We'll all go back to no. I don't care what color you are. Right? But what are they telling? They're trying to divide. Doesn't Jesus Christ tell us a house divided against itself does what? Shall not stand. It can't. Division. It's sifting. We need to be praying. The only thing that really got Peter through this, and his faith helped him. But if it had not been for Jesus Christ praying for him, what would have happened? He never made it. So it shows the power of prayer, intercessory prayer. We need to be praying for these kids because the devil wants these kids. And what's scary to me is the majority of parents today don't take their kids to church. They don't even go to church. So what are they telling their kids? It's not important. They don't bring them to Sunday school. They don't bring them to anything that goes on. Church has become a byproduct. It doesn't mean anything anymore. And that's open door for Satan to come in and steal these kids. Take them right out of my... They're the next generation. They're our next hope. If the Lord tarries another 20, 30 years, these kids that are 8, 10, 12 years old now, they're going to be in charge. And what are they going to have in here? Satan's doctrine, not God's. They're not going to want God. They don't want anything to do with God. They don't want anything to do with church. There'll be no absolute truths. There'll be no morals, no ethics, no God. It's where we're headed. Satan hath desire to sift our kids. And the only hope that they have is for us praying for them. Release time is going to start here in a little over a week. And every one of them kids coming in here has got a bullseye on them. Satan's looking for them. Every one of them. And what's sad is that the only church you're going to get. Most of them don't go to church. Most of their parents don't take them to church. They'll let them come to this, but they won't get them to church. And they're hoping that, now watch this, the school systems will teach them and help them. And the schools want nothing to do with God. What's scary is even some private schools and Christian schools are teaching ungodly things anymore. We need to pray for our kids because they will be sifted. They will be. I'll say this. I'm not trying to scare everybody half to death, but when there's sifting involved, there's no mercy. There's no grace. You won't find that from Satan. You won't find him letting up. Or if it's hurting, say, well, we'll not go any further. He's out to destroy, is he not? Seeking to devour. He wants to devour our kids. And if he gets them in that sifter, and they go into it with no faith and no intercessory prayers, what's going to come out? What are they going to look like when they come out? The world will eat them alive. The world has infiltrated our kids. You can't hide them from the world anymore. You used to be able to turn a channel maybe and keep them away from it. Now you can't do it because they get phones. And they go anywhere in this world and find anything they want to. And watch them be indoctrinated by all this stuff. And if they don't have something to hold as truth, when the sifting takes place, all they have is lies and world and their flesh, and they're going to say, that's what I want. Their flesh is going to come to life. That's what I want. That's my desire. Me. And they're gone. They're gone. Next step, Satan to destroy. He's coming after the church. You know how he's going to destroy the church? And what's left of the church on this, before the rapture takes place? He's coming after our homes. So he's coming after mom and dad. What do they call it? The nuclear family? I don't know. I've never understood nuclear. Seems to me like it's something that's going to kill you. I don't know. I'm just looking at a family as being what? A mother, a father with kids. But now, it's maybe a couple men together, a couple women together, I don't know, anything goes anymore. That's not how God created this thing. He created man and he created woman. And they have children. And they have a family. And Satan doesn't want that because he knows that can destroy the local church. It will cause division in the church. But people say, well, that's the way you look at it. That's how you see it. You're too judgmental. You're too old school. Yes! I'm old school. And I'm not changing. I was that way before I got saved. I knew that was wrong. I didn't have to get saved to realize that that's not right. Right now, we're living in a generation of stupid. Stupid. Who's behind it? Satan is sifting the church right now. And he's trying to separate the seed from the church. It's okay. You don't understand. Things have changed. The world has changed. Sure, you better believe it. It's always changing. That's been the excuse for the last 6,000 years. The world has changed, and we have to adapt. God's not changed. We've changed. And somehow we're supposed to accept this stuff. If somebody doesn't stand up and say, I'm not going to accept it, there'll be no last battle lines drawn. They're just going to run up, and Satan will sift the church and separate the seed from it. And what goes in will be shocked at what comes out. We look at the local church today. Look at what they're teaching. Look at what it's all about humanistic values. It's not about godly sacrifice. It's not about sacrificing your life for others. It's not about loving. It's all about me. Humanistic characteristics. Building up a human society. Well, I got news for you. We are evolving into the most barbaric society there's ever been. We're killing more babies now than we ever have. That's civilization. If that's civilization, I don't want any part of it. But there's where we're at. Now they take a baby and actually let it be born and then kill it. And that's fine.
That's ridiculous.
Murder. That's what it is. And who's behind it? Sifting. We're right in the middle of this thing. Because if you're saved, you're part of the church. And you're being sifted. Your kids are being sifted right now. You're being sifted. Where are your values? Are you going to stand there? What did Jesus Christ say about Peter? That your faith not fail. What do you believe in? What's valuable to you? It better be that word of God. The truth. You're standing on that. You'll make it. You'll come out. Amen. You'll be solid. We need to be praying for our families. There's another thing that happens to be a great God in this country and all over this world is money, finances. It's all about money. It's all about finances. And Satan's going to sift us. He's sifting the church now. These missionaries are begging. They're living in nothing. They're begging for support. So many missionaries are coming off the mission fields, and it's not because there's no people to preach to. It's because churches won't support them anymore. They'll spend $500,000 on a sound system. They won't send $50 a month to a poor missionary trying to spread the gospel. What? Is there something wrong? Am I seeing something wrong here? Money. To make people comfortable. Satan will start sifting you in your finances. He'll start tightening it up. Well, you know what? Things are a little bit tighter this month. We're going to have to cancel cable or maybe skip our missions this month. Well, we need cable. What's it going to hurt to skip a couple months of missions? The seed's being separated. I can't afford to tithe. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford because seed being separated. Who's behind it? Satan hath the desire to have you, that he might sift you. We need to be praying. We need to be praying for ourselves, for our families, for our kids. And last one, I'm going to close, is our testimonies. Satan would love to ruin our testimony. Do you have any idea what he did to Peter's testimony right there? He's about ruined that man. I mean, what is his testimony? What was he saying a couple hours before? I'll not leave you. I'll not forsake you. I'll die for you. I'll go to jail for you. You'll see me standing strong. Where's he at? At the enemy's campfire, cursing Jesus Christ. Cursing him. In his imagination, he thinks God don't see this. You look at that verse in 60, it says, when Jesus turned and looked on him. He's watching. How are you going to do through this, Peter? I'm praying for you. Even though I've been arrested, I'm going to get beaten. I'm praying for you. Hold fast. Peter went out and wept bitterly. He found out who he really was. Now, by the grace of God, when Jesus Christ rose from the grave, the angel told him, said, go get the disciples and what? And Peter. And bring him. Christ never gave up on him. So he never gave up on us. But at that point, Peter had to make a decision. He had to make a decision. Am I going to go to that tomb where I denied this man after I said I wouldn't? Am I going to humble myself? Am I just going to say, no, I can't do it. I'm just going back to the world. He went to the tomb. And I think that was his step in his faith. Because you find him in Acts chapter 2 and Acts chapter 3, this man's out preaching. And he's preaching with the power of God on him. He got sifted, but he came out better than when he went in. And the reason? His faith, which was very weak, but he had enough to get through. But prayer. Intercessory prayer. You want to see your kids come through this? You want to see them amount to something for the Lord? You're praying for them. Their faith alone may not be enough. How many times, and I want to close with a couple of this, how many times have you heard people give testimony? They went off in the world and got into drugs, got into this, got into that, and they finally got saved, and maybe they're preachers and whatnot, and they said, you know what? The whole time I was out doing that, I knew I had a mom back home doing what? Praying. Praying for me. I knew I had a dad who was on his knees, praying for me. That's my job. Pray for my kids. Is there faith in whom can't do it? I gotta do it. Just like you do. We're going through some things right now. You know what's going to get us through it? Prayers. Regardless of the outcome. Prayers. Pray for our kids. Pray for our families. Pray that this stuff here doesn't take precedence over God. Pray for your testimony. So you can. That's the most valuable thing you own, is your testimony. Because Satan, when he's sifting you, he's going to spread lies about you. He's going to get people against you. They're going to spread rumors about you. They're going to talk about you. They want to see you fail. Satan's people want to see you fail. But you know what? If your testimony is strong, they can say anything they want about you. But somebody's going to step up and say, I know that person. And that's not subtle. Because I know that person. And they're not like that. The truth will win. The truth will come out in the end. Intercessory prayer. Simon, Simon, Satan had a desire to have you, but I prayed for you. We need to be praying, folks, in these last days, because the church is being sifted right now. And I know we're going to come out of this on top because we get raptured out. But until then, we're to hold fast profession of faith without wavering, because He's faithful. And He will help us. He's praying for us, and He's asking us to continue our prayers. So in these last days, folks, let's just keep those 4 things in mind. And pray without ceasing. Let's all stand. We're going to close right there.